What's going on, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Untamed Outdoorsmen. Today we are back on episode 3 of the Native Watercraft Hammer 12.10 build series for our friend Carl. So the last episode we did was on the YakPower system installation, the 8-button system, and I think that came out really good, came out really clean. But like I said in that video, the installation of that YakPower unit is building the foundation for more mods. So given that, today we're going to be installing some red and green navigation lights and a stern light to this kayak. So this kayak will be having a bow motor on it, which is going to be a 24 volt Minn Kota Tarova, which we'll be installing in the next episode. But today we have to install the navigation lights to make this kayak legal in our state. So we live in Massachusetts, and the law is we need to have our red and green navigation lights in the bow and our rear facing stern light in the back, as well as getting it registered and all that squared away, and getting all of that stuff squared away as well. But that is the rules for our state, and since this is going to be a heavy tournament rig, we obviously have to follow all of those, and I recommend it either way, obviously, because it's the law. So what this is going to do is obviously give us our red and green and give us our stern lights. So the red and green navigation lights that we're going to be using are the YakPower red and green LED strip kit. This will be my third time installing this unit here, and I love this from YakPower. I'm a big fan of this thing. I really enjoy it. It's been super reliable for me. I've had it on multiple kayaks through multiple years, and it has not skipped a beat on any of those installations. So I absolutely love this thing. And the stern light that we're going with is the Yak Attack VisiCarbon Pro. I know YakPower makes a stern light. I think it's called the YakPower Lightning Rod. However, I hate the YakPower Lightning Rod. Those of you who have been subscribed to us for a long time, you may know that, but I absolutely hate that stern light from YakPower. I love a lot of their products, hence why we're doing multiple videos on installing their stuff, but I hate that product from them. I think it's a huge miss from them, unfortunately. I don't get pleasure in saying that, but my experience with that light was not very good. Connections were breaking off in the housings, you know, the lights weren't working. I had to do like 3 replacements in like the span of 4 weeks, so I don't recommend that product at all. I think it's a huge miss, but I do really like the Yak Attack VisiCarbon Pro, so that's what we're going to be installing today. And we are also going to be installing the Hammer bow hatch molly plate to go on the inside of the bow hatch here. So why are we doing this, you may ask? So we are actually going to be installing our navigation lights on the hatch lid. We did this for the Titan X 12.5 and I loved it on that, and we're going to be doing it on this kayak as well. I'm a huge fan of it, and what this molly plate is going to do is it's going to give us a really clean way to route our wiring down to the YakPower system, which is huge. So, alright guys, let's get after it. This is going to be a fun one. This is probably going to be the most simple one out of all of them if I had to guess. But either way, we're going to do it super in depth and do it the right way. Do it so you don't have to do it again. So yeah, let's get after it. Let's have some fun. Okay, so the first thing that we have to do is we have to actually mount our bow hatch molly plate to the lid of the kayak. So all in all, pretty simple. All you really got to do is, and Native actually leaves a QR code if you want to take a look at that as well, just on how to install it from their perspective. But we're going to pretty much follow what they're doing here. So you got your molly plate and you have some nuts and bolts. So super easy. I am just going to take a 5/32 drill bit, and I am actually going to drill into the 4 corners here. But you'll notice if you're following along that there's little indents on each of the corners. That's just pilot holes for your drill bit. So I'm going to take a 5/32 drill bit, and I'm just going to drill straight through it. And then one more. Okay, so all 4 corners are drilled. You can clean them up a little bit if you wish. So now I'm going to grab our nut and bolt kit. I'm going to put the bolts in. And you may have to thread them in with a screwdriver. Again, I don't use any power tools unless it's for drilling holes. No reason to do so. Number 2 Phillips. And we'll just thread this bad boy in. Yep. So super tight fit, but it is a perfect fit. So it's what you want. Okay, so we got all 4 in. Now I'm just gonna open up the hatch. So now you've got your bolt sticking out the other side. Now I'm going to mount the molly plate, but me personally, I'm actually, this rough side, I'm not going to have facing out. I'm actually gonna put the smooth side because we're gonna be using some adhesive. So it's the only reason I'm doing that. You don't have to do that if you don't want to. So the bolts are actually not very close. And I drilled it perfectly, so I'm not sure what's going on here. Native, I'm calling you out a little bit. These bolt holes are way off. All right, you're just gonna take a 3/8 ratchet and tighten it down. Tighten the top ones down, see if that maybe improves it a little bit. So I had to extend the holes out a little bit. I'm just gonna add some stainless washers to kind of fill in that gap that I made. No biggie. We work the problem. We don't panic, we work the problem. Okay, so we got the molly plate mounted. Like I said, I have the smooth side facing out because we're gonna be mounting some adhesives here and the rugged side won't stick to that as well. So next up, we have to mount our navigation lights. Okay, so now we are going to move on to actually installing these navigation lights. So like I said, I think these navigation lights from YakPower are one of, if not their best product. I really like these things a lot. So we get a few things in the kit. That's everything. So we get our red light, our green light, some stickers, some instructions, looks like, and then we have our cabling. So our cabling has a few different things here. So we have our connectors that actually physically mount to the lights. You don't need to remove these. And then we have our connector for the YakPower connector right here as well. So that's nice. And then we have our Allen key and some dielectric grease and some screws to mount the other side of the YakPower light. Okay, so we're gonna begin the installation. So obviously when it comes to US Coast Guard regulations, the red goes on the port side, the green goes on the starboard side. So we're gonna begin this now. Should be great. So it looks like it's gonna mount perfectly. Okay, so we'll begin with the port side now, so our red side. We're gonna mount it just like this, kinda go something like that, as level as I can make it. Two things. One, this is gonna be a slightly rough surface, so you really wanna make sure you get a good grip on it, but that's also what this screw on the back's for, so you don't have to worry about the adhesive being the sole holding factor. And then on this side, you do have this little lip here because of the tether holding the hatch open. So just be mindful of that. But like I said, you do have the screw hole to protect you a little bit better. So not the end of the world. Okay, so I'm actually gonna start with our same drill bit that we just used on the molly plate. It's gonna be a 5/32 drill bit, and then we're gonna step up to a larger size, but it does not have to be. Just try to get it as level as you can. And I'm gonna be mindful. So it does actually start to bend a little bit. You want to avoid that. So maybe we put it right in line with the curve in the plastic here. Let's do that actually. I'm actually gonna prefer that a little bit. Okay. With the drill bit, you want to try to be in line with the direction of the plastic. Start slow and get bigger. Just like that. I'm going to go one size larger. So I'm stepping up to a 1/4 inch drill bit here. So slightly larger. Just like that. We've used a 5/32, 1/4, and then a 3/8 drill bit. Now I'm going to use our big hunky 1/2 inch drill bit. Some of you guys may have hole saws, some of you guys may have drill bits. One thing I wouldn't do is I wouldn't go all the way in because you might actually hit something with this large of a drill bit. So don't do that. Just go until, you know, you get through the plastic, and I wouldn't go any further than that. So next up, thread our navigation light wire through. I don't really care where it ends up right now. We're just getting everything in. So yeah, a 1/2 inch drill bit is perfect for that. So now it's only going to go until the thread starts. So there's threads. It's only going to go until that point, and you won't be able to go any further. And that's what our Allen key is for. So just going to thread this in gradually. Okay, that's all I'm going. So I'm not going to go super duper tight. So now, if you plug this in, it'll actually pop in. Going to install our lights themselves. Should be pretty easy. And this is 3M adhesive back here, so it's no slouch. Okay, so this is for real now. Look at that. Okay, so now, almost done. We are going to now just take our screw and screw it in. Okay, so that's one side mounted and installed. Now we're going to repeat the same exact thing on the other side with the green light. Okay, unplug that. We're going to use this in a minute, so don't worry about that. Just get started by hand. It does feel pretty tight, but you're working a big coarse thread through pretty thick plastic, so it's gonna be pretty tight. Just wait until it visually stops. Until the head of it bottoms out, that's when you can stop. Mount that up, press it in, and then do your best to eyeball it going in straight. So just do your absolute best. You're not going to get it 100% perfect, but you can shoot for 99. So just like that. Peel back the 3M adhesive and get to sticking. It's going off eyesight here. Can't really do much better than that. So, all right. That's pretty good. All right. And then, of course, grab our second screw, screw it in. Okay. Perfect. This is all good. And would you look at that? We are ready to do some work behind the hatch. We're going to do some pretty cool cable management stuff back here. So let's get into that now. Okay, so the first little cable management thing that we're going to do is we are going to use our saddle clamps that we're planning on using for our bow motor install to help with some wire cleanliness. We're going to use them here as well. So let's work on this. So obviously right now, in my opinion, the way the cables are is unacceptable. We have to do a little bit better than that. So one thing we are going to do is we are going to take advantage of our molly plate here, and we are actually going to route them together to go straight down and into the kayak. So let's begin now. And I'll leave a link in the description to these as well. Pretty underrated cable management hack when it comes to kayaks. So, doesn't have to be perfect. And these are 3M adhesive, so they do stick pretty well. You're not going to get them 100% perfect, but you can shoot for 99, like I said. So, in pretty good shape overall. So, it'll just kind of come right down here, just like that. And it does come with zip ties. They do provide zip ties in this little kit. So, and we will cut them flush right at the head of the zip ties so they don't cut your fingers if you were to like put your hand on this area. So that's one thing I hate about zip ties is if you don't cut them right, you don't want to touch them because then they just cut your fingers. So it's my big pet peeve on other boats. So now that they're on both sides, we can combine them together right here. Run both through this one guy. And I don't want them constantly like flip-flopping all the way down. I don't like that look. So okay, one more. Just like that. Okay. So now we still have a lot of excess cable. Unfortunately, there's only so much we can do. But in terms of what we can see, I think it came out pretty great. So now I'm going to take our flush cut cutters. And what these allow us to do is they allow us to cut these zip ties right at the head of the zip tie so they don't leave a tag end and cut our hands up. That's a huge pet peeve of mine that I hate. So we're just going to cut these nice and flush. And as you can see, I can rub my hand and finger right over that zip tie and I feel nothing. So that's exactly what I want. That's just a little trick that, in my opinion, separates good installs from great installs. Cool. Looks great. So now, obviously, we can't really do much when it comes to like adding ties like here or anything like that. So what I'm going to do is bundle this all up nice and neatly. Keyword being neatly, probably to the port side because that's where the YakPower navigation stuff is. But okay, so now I'm going to do something that's optional. You don't really have to do this if you don't want to because this is very well protected already. But I like the idea of doing it, so we're going to do it. I am actually going to heat shrink our connections. So again, you do not have to do this particular part if you do not want to do this particular part. I'm just going to do it because this will never be removed and it just gives you a 0% chance of any water intrusion. So I'm just going to do this. And then again, it's pretty easy to cut up this heat shrink if you really want to. So if you ever need to get at this again, you can. It's not like 100%, done. But these power connections here. And then we're going to follow up with some dielectric grease on this connection up here. So let's do that. As you can see, I got these heat shrunk down. You do not have to do that part, this part right here, if you don't want to. If you expect that you need to remove it for whatever reason. But in our circumstance, this will never be removed. We have no reason to do so. One thing I am going to do to double down on our corrosion concern is I'm actually going to add some dielectric grease to both sides of our connection. They do supply the dielectric grease, but I actually have dielectric grease in bulk here, so I don't have to really worry about it. But I am just going to use a little bit of this on both sides. I'm just going to add our dielectric to this side as well. I'm just going to plug this guy in. Actually should become a lot easier with the dielectric. Okay, so this is all plugged in. Let's close the lid. Let's take a look. Okay, so it's still pretty bright out, all things considered. So I'm just going to turn off the lights here, and you guys can see. So I'm going to turn on our YakPower system, hit the button B, which stands for bow. And would you look at that? Looks fantastic. I think it came out pretty awesome. So yeah, this is pretty great. I mean, it looks pretty good. I am really happy with that. It looks super clean. It looks just like my kayak, honestly. It looks super similar to my kayak. But we are not done with this video. We actually have to install our flag in the back as well, our VisiCarbon Pro flag. So we'll begin that right now, and we'll be all set with this video. So let's take care of that. So yeah, guys, like I said, I absolutely love this VisiCarbon Pro. I think it's a fantastic flag. And on these natives, they're actually a little funky with this back track. We have our flag, we have our mast, we have our base, and we have our actual LED that attaches to the flag. So I'm just going to take this tether out, and it'll all just kind of fall into place. I've had one of these things for, I think, 3 or 4 years now, so I know my way around it pretty well. So just hooking up the flag. Just like that. So with these native tracks, they're a little funky. The older Titans, so not my Titan X, there was actually a cutout in the middle of the handle that you could slide these kind of accessories on. The newer natives don't have that for some reason. So one little clever trick that I do with mine, I loosen this back corner and I'm gonna raise it up a little bit. Then now you just slide the little track mount in, then tighten the screws back down. So you can put this on the port side or on the starboard side, but that is on you. So I would definitely know your casting motion and put it on the opposite side. Carl can switch it if it doesn't work for him, because it's a pretty easy swap. So all set, and just gonna make sure that this works. So as you can see, when you screw it in, the light turns on. Unscrew it, light turns off. And this will just screw in. Just like that. So very similar to my kayak and how I do it, but I really think this is the best way to do it. I think it's clean. I think it works perfectly. And it doesn't require taking a Dremel to the track or anything like that. And I think it looks pretty clean there. So yeah, that's it for the VisiCarbon Pro. Pretty easy, out of the box, ready to go. Nothing too crazy there. But yeah, we are all set with this video. All right, everybody. So that is actually going to do it for today's video on the navigation lights with the stern-mounted white light. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. I think this came out very clean. No complaints whatsoever. I'm a big fan of how this turned out. I think the navigation lights came out super clean, especially in the bow hatch with cable management and everything. I'm a big fan. And then the stern light, obviously pretty much ready to go from the jump. It doesn't really need much at all. It's even got batteries in it, ready to go. So I am absolutely thrilled with the way that this turned out. You know, I think everything that we've done so far with this kayak has been near flawless. There have been no hiccups, no surprises, no nothing. It is very fundamentally similar to my kayak, so I guess that's where I get it from. But yeah, really happy with today's video. The next video, which you guys are not going to be seeing right away, but I'm actually going to start right after I stop recording this, is we are now going to be tackling the Minn Kota Tarova. So like I said, this is a 24 volt Minn Kota Tarova. We have 24 volt lithium iron phosphate battery in there as well. We're going to be installing this. We're going to be doing this the right way. In case any of you guys are curious, I do have a professional background in, high amperage marine electronics. So, I can back up my talk quite a bit with everything, and I do have all the proper credentials. So this motor install, I think, is going to be a great opportunity for the channel, as it has been with all of our other motor installs across different kayaks. So yeah, that'll be the next video, but really hope you guys enjoyed this one today. And we'll see you guys in a few weeks when we're doing this video. So, thank you.